Hello and welcome to the second Zoom update for the Salmon Arm Silverbacks for the 2020 off-season. My name is Nathan Kanter, and as you can see, joined once again by Silverbacks General Manager and Operations Manager Brooks Christensen. Let's just start, Brooks. How are you doing? I'm in Toronto. Again, you're in Salmon Arm. How are things going for you?
Yeah, it's going good. Obviously, things are starting to settle down a little bit here in BC. So I can say I wish I was back in the rink here, and hopefully it's not too much longer. My home office is getting a little bit old, so it'd be nice to have a little bit of a change of scenery.
Let's dive right in, though, because there's quite a bit of news and some positive news to get to. I want to start with the BCHL's, the AGM, what came out of that AGM. There's kind of a lot of things. The first thing I want to start with is player safety, because they did post the league on their website. They had kind of a two-part of what came out of the AGM. And obviously, you're an expert on this stuff that came out of it. Can you explain to us from a player safety angle? There's a few different news tidbits. I want to start with, first off, the league is creating a department of player safety, which sounds great. There's also new rules on fighting. There's new rules on blindside hits. I'll let you start wherever you want to, but can you talk to me about why player safety, what came out of it, why player safety, there's so many different new things, why it's an emphasis for the BCHL?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that's the direction that hockey's going these days. You look at it. I mean, the fighting rule was kind of a simple task. There was only, I think, 3 players in the league that had a multiple of 2 or more fights. So really, we just saw that as we're a pre-NCAA league. That's what we push and promote. So fighting, there's no fighting in the NCAA. So we're sliding that scale, obviously, and I think it was just something that the league thought, from 18 partners, thought it was the right direction to go in. Player safety, at the end of the day, these are young kids, and they're looking to obviously pursue academics, and we really just want to make sure that they're safe. And so the blindside hitting, obviously, you never want to see a player go down and lay on top and on the ice, and so I think it's just important for an all-around league aspect that we're all on the same page and really promoting player safety just as a whole. So I think it was a great last meeting we had with the league. I think there were some great motions on the table that were put through, and I think our league's doing a great job at kind of being ahead of the game in a lot of aspects that are obviously putting us ahead of other leagues.
Yeah, so you mentioned the new, just to be clear, it sounds like this blindside hit rule, if there is any hit that's not in a 90-degree angle, even if it's to the chest, you can assess a charging minor or major, depending on, of course, how severe it is. Is that correct? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is obviously that they have this appeals committee that can review these hits and review everything, so that obviously if at the end of the day, if a player's out to hit a guy instead of try to get the puck, that's where we want to really just crack down on what that looks like and what the consequences are for for a potential injury or a hit that shouldn't have even been something that would be considered, I guess you could say.
The one other thing on player safety I noticed that was in the notes was on slew footing. Now, is that just obviously it was still a penalty? What is changing with the slew footing ruling?
Well, I think it's just cracking down a little bit more. You're seeing it more and more these days where, guys skating up the wall and coming and at the end of the day, if you get slew-footed, you really don't have any way of defending yourself. So it's an opportunity for a player to get injured and obviously a bad injury with a concussion potentially or worse. So really just wanted to crack down on the kind of discipline of players and making sure that that's something that's taken seriously. It's same with kneeing. Kneeing's a pretty drastic injury if you do get a knee-on-knee injury. So really just trying to make sure that players are aware that there are going to be consequences if you are trying to play that kind of hockey.
Yeah, so a lot of good safety things coming out. The other thing, off-ice safety, which a small thing but I think makes sense, is I just saw that portable defibrillators must be not just for games, but for every team event and every practice. It just seems like, again, making sure that everyone's kind of prepared for if something happens, you're ready.
Oh, absolutely. You saw it in the NHL this year, right? That potentially saved his life. So it's something that we really are striving for, to make sure that we're, ahead of, leagues in Canada anyways. And so I think it was a no-brainer. It's not a mean, it's an expensive piece of equipment, but when you really put it towards saving a life, it's pretty valuable, right? So it was great that all partners were on board with that, and I think it's just going to be another great piece that, less of a worry, and making sure that obviously for us, Brody, is trained and knows how to use it, so that if we ever have an instance like that, obviously knock on wood, but that we're looked after and there for our players.
One kind of, I guess, a housekeeping type of item. One thing, a small thing that could ease things is digital game sheets, which, it's kind of, we're now in 2020. Let's kind of move forward. Is BC one of the first leagues to go to digital game sheets? I think it's a big step forward.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding from a junior level, I know that minor hockey started to do it. It was actually something cool. A gentleman by the name of Shane from Salmon Arm actually was the one that put it forward to us and got him in contact with the league. So, I mean, I think this is an absolute no-brainer. It's like you said, it's 2020. Paper's going away. You don't have to fax anymore or scan an email. So, it's a great system. Really looking forward for our staff using it. It'll be super user friendly, and obviously, an iPad in a timekeeper's box is going to be a lot easier to handle and go from there. So,
is there anything else I'm missing? Anything from the league AGM that you want to touch on or you want to add on, or can we move on to the Hockey Canada statement that came out the other day?
Yeah, no, I think that's the biggest thing is obviously what Hockey Canada's got for us next. And I mean, I think that from a league side, I think we're going in a great direction. I think that our fans in Salmon Arm here are going to be very excited with the changes and obviously making sure that, our players are looked after and that safety is our number one concern. So
let's move on. It was on Thursday, June 4th. When Hockey Canada put out a statement that is good. I'm just going to read a little bit here from the statement, and then you're kind of going to explain in layman's terms kind of what it means. It has been determined that the best approach for a return to hockey in Canada is to allow each member the opportunity to work with authorities in their respective regions to determine when it is safe to return to the ice. So can you explain what exactly that means and why it's a step forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, I think it was great news, obviously, because, BC is doing so well, and that's not to say that there's going to be, potential outbreaks or anything like that. But I think the biggest thing is for our group is, having the opportunity to put a plan together ourselves and put it to the BC Health and hope that our protocols and, our kind of key points are met with them, and that anything that they have for concerns that we're meeting those as well. I mean, the last thing we want is to be affected by it again, and so really just being careful on what we're kind of taking in and what we're putting out towards the BC Health to make sure that we're all looked after there. So the league's done a great job, obviously, by return to play task force that they've put together, and obviously putting some plans in place and protocols, and so hopefully we have that over the next couple of weeks here. We kind of have a better picture of what everything's going to happen. I mean, obviously that's going to determine what happens with our start date and kind of just moving along the process. That to me is the biggest thing. Is you can see it's moving along, and our league's doing a great job at staying on top of this to make sure that we get back. And at the end of the day, we're hoping that we're full of fans, but obviously realistic that we might have to be less fans, and what that's going to look like is the biggest question. So, from an overall standpoint, I think that we're going in the right direction. It's just really going to take some time, and hopefully our fans are patient with us.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to add on the statement about, you mentioned that task force, and it's just kind of, they're putting their plan forward and then we just wait?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, this time of year would be more or less, I'd say, camps and stuff like that. So for our league to be focusing on, this as a key point, I mean, I think it's a great, obviously, piece for them to be involved in. And I think that we're just going to keep pushing along here and hopefully have some answers and be in the right direction come September, October, whenever that time is.
Let's move on to some more team stuff, getting a little more local, not just the league as a whole. I understand that right now the team has some lease negotiations going on with the Rec Society. Can you talk about how that's kind of going right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it takes some time, and our biggest thing is from our league or from our team is we want the support from the city and from the Rec Society, and what we're asking for is to be involved with us and to obviously help us keep the team here. Our partners are very dedicated to Salmon Arm. We're looking for a 5-year lease, so it's really just going to obviously take some time going back and forth. But we're hopeful that the City Council and the Rec Society will be on board to support the team and keep it here in Salmon Arm, obviously. So at the end of the day, we're just plugging away with that, and obviously it'd be a lot easier if we're in the rink right now. But we're hopeful that that's going to change here over the next couple of weeks.
Let's move on to some in BC for you guys, not here in Toronto, but businesses very little envious that restaurants actually open. So you can go back. Some things, of course, are opening. Can you talk about sponsors and getting a little busier now, of course, with some relaxation on rules, of course?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's awesome that Sound Arm is fortunate enough to have businesses opening back up. I know obviously that's a key piece for local businesses that are our sponsors. I mean, I went for lunch at Hanoi 36 last week, and I mean it was great just to be able to sit down on a patio. Not even the inside, just being outside on a patio and eating some of the food there. And Mr. Mike's as well went there the other day. So it's great to see obviously businesses opening up. They're taking the precautions to make sure that their customers are looked after and safe, and that everything's being wiped down. So it's really neat to see everybody coming together, obviously, and respecting each other's kind of bubbles and everything like that. So we're very fortunate that we're opening back up here in Salmon Arm. Obviously, being a smaller town and spaced out a little bit more, it's not too compressed. So very thankful for our sponsors to obviously be supporting us and looking to do the exact same back to them. So we're hopeful that obviously more and more opens up here in the next little bit, and we can kind of get back to life a little bit more normal each and every week.
Yeah. No, I did read the other day that the entire interior health region, which of course is more than just Salmon Arm, there's 0 active cases of COVID.
Yeah. I mean, you see people are taking the right precautions around town. So it's obviously great to see that everybody's respecting it and not, I mean, I know you see on the internet that there's, some places not respecting it and obviously going through some things. So it's, it's great to see everybody in Salmon Arm, coming together for this.
Is that a jab at Toronto and Trinity Bellwoods Park?
Hey, no. I'm just, in general.
Okay, let's move on to some hockey news. There was a couple trades, and I'm going to start with a big acquisition for you guys, getting goaltender Riley Kohonick. So the Silverbacks have acquired veteran goaltender, 20-year-old Riley Kohonick from the Notre Dame Hounds of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League in exchange for future consideration. So can you just explain, sounds like this is going to be the guy. This is going to be your guy in net. Kind of explain how the trade came to be and why acquiring Riley.
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it really set in, the minute that our season was actually canceled, where we knew that, Langer was moving on. And obviously for a goalie like that to be moving on a year early is great for him and great that we're very happy for him, but would have loved to have him back for one more year. And then getting the news, probably about a month later that Grant was leaving as well to go to St. Lawrence. It kind of set in right then and there that, we needed to make sure we had a goalie for next year that, could be the guy and to carry the workload. And so, the opportunity came arise where we could get Riley, and we're extremely excited to have him. A veteran goalie like himself with the playing background that he does. Notre Dame loved him. He was a huge piece there. He was there for 6 years. So we think we're getting a great goalie and obviously a great kid. Haven't heard anything but good things about him. So we're really looking forward to having him out in the community. It seems like goalies are always the key kind of piece in the community. They're always, big fans of him. I mean, you look at Langer last year and Grant. I mean, they were loved and, such a big piece for our organization. And you look at past goalies. Angus Redmond was a big one like that as well. So very, very fortunate to have a goalie like him coming in and, excited to have him be the guy and hoping our fans will be just as excited as we are.
Yeah, and just a little bit, if people are wondering a little more stats and stuff, there is a story on our website at sasilverbacks.com. This is a player who won a TELUS Cup with Coulson Wolford and the Notre Dame Hounds a few years ago. That's the Midget National Championship. And last year, his numbers were fabulous on a kind of a mediocre team. I mean, a .920 save percentage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest thing was talking with Luke Millimock and his family. I mean, obviously they're hand in hand, know Kohonick very well, and I take what that family has to say with a lot of heart. And Luke's a big fan, and we're a big fan of Luke. So I think that anytime where kids' characters brought up from a guy that we really trust, it's an easy no-brainer for just to trust as well on that side of things. So it's we're very looking forward to it, and hoping Riley has obviously a good off season here coming into next year.
One other, a more minor transaction, but it was completing a trade. So on the January 10th trade deadline, of course, you guys acquired veteran defenseman Jeremy Gervais from the Bonnyville Pontiacs. And now that it's the offseason, June 1st, it was announced that to complete that trade, unfortunately for the Backs having to lose a player, but you guys, Jared Semchuk, going to Bonnyville. So I just obviously want to thank Jared for his time here. I'll kind of leave it over to you, but that was just to complete an earlier trade. Semchuk was kind of the additional player.
Yeah, I mean, any time where the trade happens, I always think I say it every single time, but when you're getting a good player, you got to give up a good player. And Jared is a great young hockey player, and felt like there was going to be a lot of opportunity for him in Bonnyville. And we really, when it comes to a trade, you really just have to go what's obviously best in that certain time and what's best in the future. And we just felt that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Jared moving on. So it kind of just fit. And, I mean, obviously a good acquisition at the trade deadline, getting Jeremy. I mean, Jared was a great player for us down the line, and, can't thank him enough for his short time in Salmon Arm. But it's never an easy time when doing trades. I mean, now that the trade center's open as of June 1st, it seems like, there's obviously lots trying to figure out their roster. And now with getting more and more information from Hockey Canada, and knowing that the season's going to be going here, teams are starting to prepare what their roster looks like a little bit more. What recruits did they get? What did they not get? So it's at the end of the day, that's the tough part about the business. And can't thank Jared enough for all his time and efforts in Salmon Arm, and hope him all the best in Bonnyville.
So is there anything else? It looks like that is pretty much it for this update for any trade stuff. I guess the one thing that we can say is we will have, for fans, there'll be an interview with a couple players. So you can look for that in the next couple of weeks. Maybe even get at us on social media. Let us know who maybe you want to hear from, and we'll see if we can make that work. Is there anything else that you want to add off ice, on the ice, anything that we haven't brought up yet?
No, I think we've pretty much touched on everything that we had as of today. I mean, the biggest thing is updating our fans of where we're at with the league, the team, everything. It's just trying to get information out there. And my phone and my email is always on at this time, whether I'm at the rink or not. So if fans ever have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything that way. And hoping everybody's staying safe, and that we're back in there soon and getting to see some familiar faces.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Brooks. And we'll see you, hopefully all you fans, pretty soon down in the fall.